Okay. Hi, my name is Dylan Long. This is the SAL630 Legal Aspects in Sports, and this is my presentation for the case brief number one. Um, for this assignment, I've chosen to go with the first option that was given to us, which was the Federal Baseball Club versus National League of 1922. Okay, number one, case information. The case name, court that decided it, date decided, parties involved. So the case name was the Federal Baseball Club versus National League of, or is National Federal Baseball Club versus National League 259 of US 200. The court that decided it was the Supreme Court. The date that decided it was May 29th, 1922. And I also wanted to add that this was argued, or this was start of, it was April 19th, 1922, so this didn't last very long. And the parties involved were the National League versus the Baltimore Terrapins. Okay, number two, facts. Summarize relevant facts that led to the legal dispute and focus on what happened, who did what, and circumstances involved. Now, a little bit of background on the case, or before it was brought forth. Prior to the 1920s, the National League and the American League, both those baseball leagues, they weren't the only ones. They weren't the only ones in baseball. In 1914, a new league came up. They were the Federal Baseball League. This league, it did thrive for a short period, with big names moving to teams associated with the league. And of course, with the moving of players, this prompted fans to follow suit, and kind of surprisingly to me, the officials also followed as well, or umpires. The American and National League saw how well the league was doing. So what do they do when they're losing fans and they're losing umpires? So what do? They have to take matters in their own hands. So what they did was they decided to buy out or negotiate deals with all the Federal League owners. So this in turn pretty much dissolved the league. However, one team was left out, which, no shocker, was the Baltimore Terrapins. Okay, so number three, what is the legal issue at hand? Okay, what point of law was being decided or determined? Okay, so when the Federal League president, James Gilmore, when he was going through all the negotiation processes for all the different leagues, or for the teams in the league, in 1915, the Terrapins, for some reason, they weren't included in any of the negotiations, which I thought was kind of weird. So this prompted the owner of the club to sue both leagues, and he accused him of violating antitrust laws by trying to buy out the Federal League and simply run them out of business, this has ultimately put a monopoly on baseball. Okay, so number four, rule of law. Identify and summarize a relevant legal principle that applies, for example, a statute, precedent, or legal doctrine. Okay, so the law that was brought into question was the Sherman Anti-Trust Act. The National Archives on the web says that the Sherman Anti-Trust Act of 1890 was the first measure passed by U.S. Congress to prohibit trust. It was named after Senator John Sherman of Ohio, which was the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee and the Secretary of the Treasury under President Hayes. Okay, application. Explain how the rule of law was applied to the facts of this case, and describe how the courts analyzed the facts based on the law. Okay. Okay, so this legislation, it doesn't allow businesses to, or this legislation doesn't allow for businesses to conspire or to hinder competition, which was simply what the leagues were doing against the Federal Baseball League. In district court, the judge sided with the Federal Baseball League. The judge simply put that they came to the conclusion that the organized baseball leagues had in fact violated federal trust laws, and they or the Baltimore club was entitled to recover for any damages suffered as a result. So this, of course, when I read this at first, this was no surprise to me. So they were awarded the damages of $80,000. The antitrust laws provide that the guilty defendants pay 3 times that amount of the actual damages plus attorney fees and So the final judgment of how much they would pay was $254,000. However, this was later brought into question. The Court of Appeals overturned the decision, which sent the case to the Supreme Court. In the end, the justices unanimously decided that the baseball games are state affairs. This was decided by the justices, and one of the justices' decision was this is quoted by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. He said that the business is giving exhibitions of baseball, which is purely state affairs. Okay, so number 6. What was the final ruling, and summarize the court's decisions and reasoning. So the final ruling was pretty simple. The National League, or the National Baseball League, ultimately they won the case with the antitrust law not applying to those leagues. Okay, so this, it's kind of funny. It's how it went that easily for them. This case is the main reason why MLB has not faced any competition since then, to that date, and it remains the only American league sport that has such antitrust exemptions, which to me it's hard to believe that a law of that magnitude has still not been brought into question today, but this is how it is. That is the end of the video of my presentation. Thank you for watching my case brief number 1 on the Federal Baseball Club versus National League. Thank you.